everybody. This is Diane. Welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell. Get ready for a love quadrangle.
Is that where I come in?
Welcome back, Brian.
Yay!
Thank you. Glad to do this. Looking forward to this.
This is a total surprise to me, so I'm like completely awestruck. I'm verklempt.
So I want everyone to remember the safe words, which are spooky chef.
Spooky chef is a safe word. Indeed.
Spooky chef.
So we are here to podcast the season finale for season 9. It's episode 16 called The Storm.
The Storm. Well, so that was a season finale, I guess. Am I right?
I guess, yeah.
I think we're all kind of
right.
in agreement that it's a little wanting.
Yeah, that was very anticlimactic.
That's what Ezekiel said.
Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of action. It was a very depressing episode. Last episode was much better.
There are a lot of people online who are saying that last episode should have been the season finale.
Yes, and this episode should have been season 10, episode 1. Right?
Yeah, I don't even know if that was it for me. I think the biggest problem I had were my expectations going into it, because leading up to it, all you heard was cast members saying it's something that we've never done before on the show. It's gonna be intense, something we've never done before. So you're thinking like, well, they just killed off 10 people. Now they're gonna kill off like 20. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a bloodbath. Or like you're just gonna like it's gonna be like that the season finale where we watched Alexandria burn, you know. But I guess the big secret was winter.
Yeah, they didn't take advantage of their big white swath of snow and use it to back up a whole bunch of blood, you know.
Yeah. Although the effects of the exploding heads were very cool, the frozen exploding heads.
I've got a beef about the
Not
zombies.
CGI, by the way.
Oh, really?
Right. Totally
No.
practical effects.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I read Nicotero's little piece on that, and they had these little like different colored crystals, and
yeah.
when you smash the head open, they all kind of flew out. So it's kind of like a little pinata.
Pinata. Yes.
Oh, that's super cool. I didn't read that article.
Oh, I did. And they didn't even mention pinata, and that's exactly what Brian and I thought of. That's awesome.
All right, Bryce. So you go first. Tell us how you rated it.
So I rated this episode 2.81 Walker Popsicles out of 5.
Ooh.
Forgettable and regrettable.
Ooh.
Yikes. Maybe I can talk you up just a little.
Well, I talked myself up after the rewatch.
Wow. I'm kind of stunned.
You know, it was a good episode. It was a terrible season finale. So I rated it a 3.3 8-band radios.
So
Not
that far
3.38.
off.
Not 3.38. 3.3 8-band radios.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
so-
rated it higher like I usually do. I rated it 3.9 out of 5 Winter 1 Ice Storm Protocols.
That's a good one.
It is.
But, you know, my whole thing was I can't give it an A because I didn't give the last episode an A. But I think I was swept up enough in the Carol Ezekiel storyline that I rated it higher than the two of you did.
Nailed it.
So the way I look at it was, you know, I'm at about a C- grade, kind of take your guys' grading system. I'm about a C-, and that was up from the D because on the rewatch, I caught more of the relationship ending of Zeke and Carol, plus the intro with Ezekiel narrative.
Yeah.
Which really
made more.
It could have been him talking about his relationship with Carol.
That's exactly how I thought about it.
Something about things broke down, the fires raged, and rot set in. Yeah, rot spread. Yeah.
So, Bri, we haven't had the chance to talk with you about this season at all. What are your feelings overall about season 9?
So here's the thing. So I quit at the end of last year. I'm like, screw this series. I'm done. I can't deal with this garbage anymore. And I'm going to try real hard not to swear, so to give editing an ease here. But I was done, man. And I was just like, all right, forget it. So then I was like the little like closet watcher. Like as it got closer, I'm like, maybe we're going to do this. So like I stashed them on the DVR and my wife's like, what is this? Like she was finding like my porn stash or something, right? She's like, what is this? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I thought you weren't doing this anymore.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And I'm like, I'm just like watching them all in one shot. So like when it started, I would watch, 2 or 3 episodes kind of in succession and just kind of just zip right through them and fast forward through the commercials. And then as things started to go along, I found myself like, because I watched through PlayStation View. So like it'd be bedtime and my wife would go to bed and I'd just put my headphones in and then watch The Walking Dead a couple hours late. And then it's like now I'm watching them real time towards the end of the season. So I really did. I really enjoyed how this season was moving. I thought that they were generally more aggressive with the Whisperer storyline than they would have been if Gimple was the showrunner.
They aren't stretching it out quite as much as you think Gimple would have.
Right. I think his vision would have been the governor times 2, or even Negan at this point, right?
Yeah, because we were getting sick of the Negan tease. It was slowing everything down.
Yeah, so I was expecting the storm to be the end of the Whisperers. I thought we were doing a one and done, which, when I look back in the series of all of The Walking Dead and what parts would I have loved to have more of? I would have loved to have more termites going. I wanted that Terminus storyline to be so much bigger.
Yeah.
And, those like little quick hits where I really wanted it, even just a couple of weeks ago with the Psycho Kids, right? That was such a wasted opportunity. Like
one episode.
Yeah, that could have been 3 episodes.
Easy.
Really diving into her methodologies and really what she was doing and why she was doing it. Like if she was just confessing everything to Michonne, right? And she's doing this, like that could have been so fun. So in a nutshell, seeing this Whisperers thing come to an end, obviously it's going to end, I would assume, in the first 3 episodes of next year. So hopefully we make that transition and then get on to the radio voices.
Yeah. What do you think of the newcomers to our group?
Which ones?
The
Yumiko, Magna.
Yeah. Luke.
Oh man, we got some good eye candy. We got some lovable characters. I think they're a good addition, right? It's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and everyone. So that was kind of a familiarity with them. I enjoyed his character in previous acting, so that was okay for me to see him there. But I think everyone brought a uniqueness that was good to the group, not just the same old additional characters that are going to die very soon.
Right.
Were you surprised that none of them died in the Pikes?
So when Yumiko and Magda or whatever, Magna split, I thought just like you guys did last week, like, well, they're dead.
Yeah, yep. At least one of them.
Yeah, right. Because, they kissed, right? And it's like, oh, the big kiss, right? Well, being a lesbian or a doctor in The Walking Dead has never worked out for anybody.
Or a horse or a kid.
Yeah, so it's like, well, one of you are going to die. But that was cool because, like, I was listening to you guys' last week episode, and I was talking to you, but nobody was responding to me. Like, as they were naming off the people, I had like this real interest of like, where's this person? Like you'd see them, it's like, oh my God, who's it going to be? Like that. I haven't felt that much anticipation and excitement and eagerness like in The Walking Dead since season 4 and 5, right? I mean, it's been a long time since I felt like that in those last 20 minutes that half of America got to see. That was my
point. Yeah, and like I said, I wanted to like Google it or skip to the end of the episode because it was so much anticipation I couldn't take it.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I've enjoyed this season better than I have the last two, right? It made me feel good again. It made me excited, and especially this episode, there were points where I was like, okay, something bad's going to happen. And I'd get excited and then be a commercial. And I'd be like, okay, maybe not. And then it'd be a different direction. I'm like, okay, well, maybe. So I kept getting myself excited just to be let down again. But, you know, it's kind of whatever. So I've been very happy.
So it kind of sounds like, oh, sorry.
Oh, except when Jesus died. That was a shocker.
That's what I liked, though. Like, I think when Jesus died, to me, I was just like, man, that was like when Andrea died. Like you didn't see it coming, and it was just, it's happening, and this is it. Like just out of nowhere, this is going on. So it needed that impactful death, and that's what I really take away from this season is that they weren't afraid to be who they were again. Right? They weren't afraid to rewind to season 4 and 5 and say, no, this is how we're going to play. Nobody's safe again. Whereas if I feel like after the Negan Bat episode, it was kind of predictable through the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this was probably your least favorite episode of this season.
Yeah, it was pretty close, man. And that I think anticipation had a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. I think they did it to themselves, and the viewer backlash that's been happening, because I've been reading it all the last 2 days, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that it's because they were out there hyping it up. You had Norman out there hyping it up. You'd see him everywhere, and it's something never before done, and it's going to be crazy.
A game changer.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone said that when they read the scripts for the season, they, you know, broke down in tears and just were, you know, crushed for days. And, you know, most of us knew the heads on the pikes were coming, but it was a surprise to see who it was and who it wasn't. So I don't know. It wasn't shocking. And then to have this kind of downer of an episode. I think you're right, Brian. I think they did it to themselves.
Well, I was wondering if that they got the episodes mixed up when they read it. They read the last week's one. But, you know, I don't know. That was just the tough pill for me to swallow, was that seeing that, right? I broke down in tears. I'm thinking like whispers are going to come crashing down the walls and they're just going to rip people to shreds. Because I was kind of thinking in my head like they were going to level the kingdom. Right? Like they were going to kill an entire city. And that was the big deal. But
I was really anticipating that there were going to be more deaths that were even harder to swallow in this episode.
Right. Yeah. Because, I mean, you know, Ezekiel's head should have been on a spike. And so I just feel like his death has been looming. And so I expected it this episode. And, you know, I expected, you know, maybe it killed Jerry or Aaron or somebody like that. Somebody, you know, really beloved again, just like Jesus. But it didn't happen. Not much happened.
Which is why we're going to talk for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to save some stuff later because I had some thoughts where as I was watching it through again, I was creating scenarios in my head like, wow, what if they would have done X, Y, and Z? And the way I seen those things kind of playing out, I would have been like, that totally, just this one thing would have just completely made the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's hit some of our regular beats and then we can get to goods, bads, and uglies and rotting potpourri and break some of that stuff down.
Done and done.
All right. So numbers. The Calm Before, which was last week's episode, actually beat out Sports Ball. Actually, sorry, it was beat out by Sports Ball. Excuse me, I misspoke. It was number 2 in 18 to 49 and number 2 in the overall numbers. 1.5 million in 18 to 49, 4.152 million, which was like a major low in the franchise history. It was actually down from about 4.5 million the week before. And Marn, I looked, and Talking did not make the top 25 overall at all. And usually they'll rate somewhere in the top 25 for cable for the week.
Wow.
So I kind of wonder, is it because people were bummed out by the episode? Is it because of the Into the Badlands effect and people didn't stay up to watch Talking?
Oh, or they started to watch Talking and got the disclaimer that you missed 25 minutes of the episode, so don't watch yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And we do have numbers, and Brian mentioned these before we came on, for the series finale. So not the series finale, the season finale. So The Storm, it was actually the lowest rated finale in series history.
Womp womp.
Yeah, they pulled in about 5 million views overall and 2.4 million in the 18 to 49 group.
Wow.
But it's still the highest rated show on cable.
Yep.
Even with those numbers. Just wanted to point out, though, season 5 was our highest rated season finale, and it was 15.8 million live plus same day. So it was 3 times as much as the viewership that we've got now.
Ugh.
Kind of, I don't know about you, Bri, but we've been talking a lot about how it kind of feels like things are really waning and things are really wrapping up. And those numbers really make me feel that.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, look, next season, season 10, it's renewed for season 10. We know Michonne's gone. We know some other contracts are going to expire come season 10, right? So if I read into other conversations and other interviews, that 2020 is the big year for the universe. It's a major turning point for the universe, because that's when Rick's spinoffs, Rick's spinoffs are coming, things like that. So you can't, what are you going to do? Have Walking Dead on every night on AMC? You can't flood the network like that.
Yeah.
So something has to come off. And I believe for this Walking Dead series, that is season 10. And look, season 10 in the grand scheme of TV shows is in the top 10% of all TV series, right? 10 seasons, so I think that's what's going to happen, is that's going to roll off. You're going to move. I could see a hybrid model where Fear takes over kind of like the first half of the year, and then the Rick spinoff carries the spring half of the year.
And they're talking about a new series.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think, just with Maggie kind of walking off and, the actors starting to call their bluff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do my content. I'm going to go do new work. No, you're not. Watch me. Which, side note, love the Maggie jabs in the episode. Like, haven't heard from her at all.
Right. Well, and the contracts that Norman Reedus and Melissa McBride both signed said that they could cross over into other Walking Dead franchises.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely going to happen. I've got some stuff in Rotting Potpourri about those two little yahoos.
Well, and, I don't know how much effect it's going to have on the shows themselves, but they still have that Walking Dead massive profit scam that Bones went through, where they were underreporting their profits so that they could pay the actors on the show less. And so that's come out. So who knows how that will affect things.
So I know that Frank Darabont was a big part of that. Do you know if any of the actors who are still on the series are affected by that?
Robert Kirkman, Gail Ann Hurd, Glenn Mazara, and David Alpert follow Frank Darabont in suing the blockbuster zombie series, and potential damages could reach $1 billion.
Wow. And those are just people who are behind the scenes. That's not even mentioning any of the actors.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that could tank any investment in the show.
Well, I guess that's what you get for not playing by the rules.
Right? You got caught.
Well, speaking of people behind the scenes, I just want to say that Angela Kang was the writer. And I saw on IMDb that she actually co-wrote it with Matt Negrete. He didn't get mentioned at all in any of the other stuff that I saw. She was kind of held up as the sole writer of this episode, so I'm not sure if IMDb is accurate or not. And then Greg Nicotero was the director.
He was on. His name flashed on the screen during the opening credits. Okay. Yeah. I did see that.
Anything you guys want to say about either of them that's separate from the stuff that we'll get into in Rotting Potpourri?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
No, ma'am.
It sounds like there's a dog in the background that wants to say something, and it's actually not at my house.
It's not at your house, yes.
That's rare.
Yes, the weather is beautiful here, so the dogs are spending all their time outside barking at things.
Ah. So, Marn, you want to take us into featured cast?
Yeah. So our featured cast member is Yumiko. Her real name is Eleanor Matsura, and she was born in Tokyo, Japan, and raised in Hertfordshire, England.
Or Hertfordshire. Did I get that right, Victoria?
Yeah. My pronunciation probably isn't the best. She's got a lot of acting chops and a lot of theater and education when it comes to drama and dance and art. So she graduated from the Central School of Speech and Drama in 2004, and she's trained in modern and period dance. She's done a whole bunch of theater. I won't list it off because I don't know if anybody will recognize a lot of the play names or locations or anything like that. What I love and recognize her from is Wonder Woman.
You know, I saw that as a credit and I was like, oh my God, now I have to go back and watch Wonder Woman.
So, she played, I just lost it. You're going to have to help me with this, Diane. Epione? Epione.
I think it's Epione.
Okay. That sounds way better. We'll go with that. But she was she's the goddess of healing or medicine or something. And she was the kind of doctor in the Wonder Woman's island.
Now I totally have to watch it again.
Yeah. I want to go back and rewatch it too. She has been in a ton of stuff, and you are going to laugh because she has been in an episode of Law and Order.
Oh my God, really? I missed that.
Law and Order UK. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Me either.
Yep. I thought that was hilarious. So she's done a lot across the pond. Something that I kind of know her from. She did one episode of Doctor Who. She was on EastEnders. Her acting history goes back to 2005, and she's 4 years younger than me. So she's doing pretty well for herself.
It looked like a lot of her stuff was Brit shows that I would not necessarily be familiar with.
Right. So The Fades, Cuffs, Utopia. She's had recurring characters on all these shows. Da Vinci's Demons. And she actually does a lot of voice work for video games. So if anybody recognizes her voice and you're like, I know her from somewhere, her and her husband do a ton of voice for video games. In fact, she's got one in post-production and one announced. So, and those are just voiceover. So if you see credits above Walking Dead, it doesn't mean she's dying. It means she was just in the studio.
It does look like she has a movie coming out. She's in a movie with Angelina Jolie, Danny DeVito, and Sam Rockwell.
It's still a voice.
Oh,
it's
is
not
that
a
all
live
it is?
action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's like cartoon or how kind of Pixar kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, Angelina Jolie, Danny DeVito, Bryan Cranston, Helen Mirren, and Eleanor Matsuura. So that'll be an interesting one.
That's a bunch of misfits. It's got to be a cartoon.
That's a huge cast, right? And you're right. I mean, really an odd mesh of people.
So a gorilla named Ivan tries to piece together his past with the help of an elephant named Stella as they hatch a plan to escape from captivity.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like Pixar.
Yeah, definitely cartoon.
Did you guys also notice that she had a recurring role in Into the Badlands?
I did.
The show that we love to hate.
Yeah. I'm like, I really wish I could get into that show because she did have a like 5-6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she is not on Twitter. She says that Twitter stresses her out.
Oh,
and
you must have watched the little interview that I watched.
I did.
She said it's like interview.
100 voices of people yelling. And I love her because she fosters animals for Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. It looks like she fosters mainly cats. So I had to like her Instagram. And she is on Instagram at Eleanor Matsuura. And she posts tons of behind the scenes pictures and stuff from the set and her in her Wonder Woman garb and at cons and mirror selfies and stuff with her family and cats and things like that.
You had me at mirror selfies.
Oh, no, you should totally see her picture of her in her Wonder Woman kind of costume. The caption is, "When I was an Amazonian and my tits were titanium."
On my way.
Right? I'm looking for that right now. All right.
Oh, that's funny.
She looks amazing.
Yes, she does. So she's married to another actor named Trevor White, and they have one child together. So
she's a mama-rama.
Yeah, that's all I got for her. There's not really much out there. She's, I think kind of new to Americans and, not really a big, like, I'm going to sit down and do an hour-long interview.
She was definitely new to me. I didn't realize that I had seen her for until I saw the Wonder Woman credit. Seen her before, excuse me.
Yeah, I don't actually recognize her from the stuff that I have seen her in. So I kind of want to go back and watch that episode of Doctor Who and Sherlock. Yeah.
Well,
and of course,
go ahead.
I still need BritBox.
Well, I think she's a good addition to the cast. I've really liked the whole Yumiko Magna group this season.
Yes. Absolutely. So that's Elena Matsuura. Go like her on Instagram because she's not on Twitter or Facebook.
So I will rock us into Whisperer's Corner. The first thing that I have is that Fear the Walking Dead is confirmed for return on June 2nd of this year. So we've got exactly 2 months from tonight.
I am so happy.
Are you watching?
I stuck with Fear for sure.
So did you love the reboot?
Me.
Yeah, I loved Fear, how they literally just said,
"We're gonna
here's what we're
everyone.
doing. We're killing everyone. We're literally starting with like 3 people left."
Yep.
Which is what I thought this Walking Dead episode was going to do, basically, and just kill everybody and say, "Well, this is what we got left, so here we go." But yeah, I freaking love Fear. Like, that was appointment TV for me during the summer, and just stayed locked and loaded with them. And I liked it. I felt like Fear the Walking Dead was their experimental playground,
right?
With how far they could push things and how far they could veer off course. It was nice. I liked it because there was no reference material to say, well, we can kind of generally see where this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, Fear is a completely open in the air. There's nothing. They don't have to stick to anything. They don't have to do anything. It is whatever the hell we want to do, which I love.
And they did a great job remaking it and pulling us back in.
Yeah.
Yep. It's one of my favorite shows. I love Fear.
I seriously think they're listening and they took my advice. Just kill everyone and reboot in season 3.
I still want to go back to what you said last week, Marnell, quoting Carol. Everything you said sounds impossible.
I know. I can't believe that Brian likes it. I can't believe you hung on, stuck around.
Well, just they always kept moving in what they were always on the road. And that's when I enjoyed The Walking Dead the most, is when they were on the road. And being on the road in Fear, especially with the semis last year, it was just real. And it wasn't like big bad villains, but it was these like micro one-offs, which would really happen. You've got this crazy lady spiking supplies because she's like, screw it, I'm going to kill everybody too. So it just had this constant flow of death and depression, and you literally could die that next episode.
But you moved forward.
Yeah. So, that's what made me happy. Now, how, what's his face? Blondie from Walking Dead.
Oh, Austin Emilio. Dwight.
Yeah. Dwight. There we go. How he is going to fold into the mix. I don't know how well it's going to work, whether he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy or just a guy,
See, and the beauty to that is that they're 6 years ago. So he can actually kind of be in Fear the Walking Dead and then jump forward in time and come back for The Walking Dead.
Well, I thought they were up to speed now.
No, they're actually still behind.
No, they still got gas and batteries and generators.
Yeah, but Morgan leaving and running. Oh, that's right. They jumped ahead this last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
6 years.
Morgan happened before the time jump.
Yep.
Him leaving Alexandria happened before the time jump.
Well, didn't Dwight then? Yeah, because Dwight left before Morgan did.
Dwight, you're right. He did leave before Morgan did. You're absolutely right, because Daryl drove him out.
So these guys are 6 years ago. So we could see Dwight on Fear and we could see him on Prime.
Well, what I'm hoping is that they don't out him as knowing the same people right away as Morgan does, or that they don't even interact for the first half, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of different groups in Fear right now that they're split. So maybe Dwight goes with the group Morgan's not with right now, because isn't Morgan's group going out to find them in the semis, right?
They were, oh gosh. They go to a central place where they were going to start trying to.
Oh yeah, that's right. They all met up in the end.
Yeah.
'Cause they found everybody after the storm. That's right.
Yeah.
They found everybody, and now they're going to redistribute the semi-supplies en route to Alexandria.
Yeah. No, I think they decided they weren't going to go to Alexandria. I think they decided that they were just going to try and make a go of it from wasn't it like a plant or a warehouse or something like that?
Yeah, it was where all the supplies were, where the original guy was doing all of his big runs.
I think they decided they were just going to make a go of it from there, that Morgan called off heading back to Alexandria and felt like they had a bigger purpose.
So there's actually a theory online right now that says that the idea that upcoming seasons of Fear over the course of 16 episodes will have its own time skips in the way we saw in season 9 TWD. And so that Fear is actually going to catch up with Walking Dead Prime, and we could possibly see a group merger. That's just a theory that's online right now. You know how well that works out.
Well, so what I was kind of thinking is that in my little fantasy head of that, at the end of this Fear the Walking Dead, they are en route to Alexandria, and they pull up to the gates of Alexandria, and it's just completely in ruin, right? The walls are down. It's just devastated. And Morgan's like, what the hell? And like, that's the end of the season. And then you start season 10, everything's fine. And then you realize the end of Fear is the end of season 10, and it's over.
Oh, that would be brutal.
I've got chills.
So they would show you the end of season 10 before it even started.
Without you realizing it.
That would be really
without
brutal.
you realizing it.
If they're listening, they should really think about doing that.
That would be a
That's
really
just how
cool,
I would end it.
That would be a cool chance to take.
Why not, right?
Yeah, that
Because
would be a really cool way to end it.
Then Fear is kind of just picking up, and then, you know, they've said the plays that they have with Rick, and he's never coming back to The Walking Dead. They make it very clear in saying that they are not coming back to The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Never said can't do Fear, and Gimple's already said he's open to more crossovers. So Alexandria's in ruin, right? So then Rick finally breaks free from wherever he is, because I truly, never mind. I'm deviating. On with the numbers.
So still in Whisperer's Corner, actually, there's no date for Preacher yet. Are you watching Preacher, Bri?
I freaking love Preacher, dude. Are you kidding me?
What about American Gods?
So no, I did not go down that channel. I haven't done Into the Badlands. Into the Badlands is probably something I'm going to binge and get up to speed on. American Gods, I just couldn't get there. It didn't go that's something I need to watch.
Really?
And if I don't feel like that, then I don't give it the time until maybe it's over.
I started to lose interest mid-season in American Gods, but I've heard from multiple sources that season 2 has just been amazing. And so I slogged through the last half of season 1, and I do have to say that season 2 has definitely picked up.
Well, and so I think, speaking of Neil Gaiman properties, before we get back to Whisperer's Corner, I think Marnell and I are going to do Good Omens on this podcast.
Yeah.
Which is going to drop on Amazon at the end of May.
There's just so much good TV that's going to be coming, just with the Disney Plus subscription service. I don't know if you guys are into that.
No, haven't gotten that.
It's coming out at the end of the year of 2019, and that's where all the new spin-offs are going to be on. So
all the Marvel stuff, you mean?
The Star Wars TV shows. They got one called The Mandalore, and it's going to be like Boba Fett, Mandalorian, bounty hunter guy.
Goodness.
So there's a spin-off that Jon Favreau is directing.
Oh, really?
It's done filming. And that's only going to come out on Disney Plus streaming service. So they're locking up properties. You're not going to be able to watch a Star Wars, Marvel, anything like that without having the Disney service. So they've already scripted out like all these additional Star Wars shows and things like that are only going to be available on this. And so it's just like, oh my God, there's so much cool stuff coming at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We are in that middle book time frame of some of us still have cable, but we subscribe to all the other crap too. So we're paying double. I cannot wait until it's all a la carte, where I'm just paying for the stuff that I want to watch.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Yep. I hope so.
Yep.
Because I'm tired of paying for all the extra stuff.
I've got 400 channels and I watch like 8, but I have to have all 400 to get all 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I finally had to just cut the cord. So I don't do Dish anymore. It's just PlayStation View. And that's even down. You get better prices than you would through Dish. And then through like a Roku, you can pick your little subscriptions through there. Mm-hmm. So you can do that. So like I have the kids one that has like all the Nickelodeon stuff. So instead of buying the $20 upgrade on PlayStation View, I buy the $6 app that has Nickelodeon shows, but they're not the new ones, they're the old ones. But I don't really love my kids that much, so they get the old ones.
Your kids shouldn't be watching TV anyway. They should be doing their homework and playing outside.
Right.
They should be doing acrobatics in the living room.
Yeah, breaking collarbones and shit. That's cool.
Oh, that's funny.
So
we're still in Whisperer's Corner.
Yeah. Another thing that I have is that Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg, who are the showrunners on Fear, hinted that there are going to be radioactive walkers in season 5.
Oh, that is so cool.
How is that gonna work?
I was thinking about that because, I mean, look at Fukushima. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like the apocalypse has happened. Nobody is there to keep refilling the cooling pools for the rods in in the reactors. And so there would be nuclear fallout in places.
Well, apparently, and I went to the article, started skimming it, looked back again, and it was gone, and I could never get back to the link. But apparently there's something about some radioactive signs that kind of hint at these possibly radioactive walkers. So we should watch for those in season 5 of Fear.
Interesting.
Yeah, very possible. Something new and exciting they haven't ever done before.
Right. I mean, they kind of hinted at that when in the episode when Shiva died, because those walkers were all like in that soup
sludge
of chemicals, but they never followed through on it. So the only other stuff I have for Whisperer's Corner is just some stuff about the staging for the finale. So Angela Kang gave an interview to Entertainment Weekly, and she talked about how they staged the snow. And did you know that a bunch of the snow was paraffin wax?
Yes.
I thought that was
and soap flakes.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was really interesting. She let go the Easter egg that Lydia's attempted death with the walker was a nod to the death that Carol has in the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
She also talks about the fact that the Whisperers have migrated, and that's why they're in a different area, and they don't actually see our survivors at all.
And so that was a weird transition where we're going from blizzards and feet of snow, and then we see Alpha and Beta, and there's not a flake in sight, and it's, sunny outside. It's because they went south for the winter.
Which makes sense. I mean, they're saying that they're animals, right? They're saying that they're animalistic, so they migrate.
Yep.
She talked a little bit about the radio voice, and she basically said, I'm just going to let people speculate. And then I did look at an article that Nicotero had in Entertainment Weekly, and he actually said this was his first time ever shooting in fake snow, which I thought was really funny considering he's done so many effects in Hollywood for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
The snowball scene was not scripted. It was all improvised.
Yep. But it was something from the books.
No.
Yes.
No.
I swear. I'll have to find the article.
I mean, there's other stuff that says that there's other stuff where they've had snow in the books, but never a snowball fight in Alexandria. Not that I remember. Brian, you haven't read that far ahead, have you?
No, but I know the article, and because Nicotero just said, hey, just go play in the snow. And then they just let the cameras roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He did say that the zombies coming out of the snow were a nod to all of those classic zombie emerging from the grave scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The half-corpse walker, who I thought was really reminiscent of Bicycle Girl, was actually a shout-out to Return of the Living Dead. And then he just mentioned that there were a couple of Evil Dead Easter eggs along in this season. The cabin that Rick went to when he was hurt. And then there was also the Necronomicon actually appeared in one scene.
In the cabin.
In the cabin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because somebody made the comment that when Beta hung Alpha's face on the branch in this episode, that it looked like the Necronomicon. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he's big with the callbacks.
So I don't have anything else for Whisperer's Corner. It was, again, a relatively light news week. People were just doing a lot of mulling over the episode.
I have a fun little thing.
I heard that before.
We got this covered.com caught Chandler Riggs throwing shade at The Walking Dead again.
Yes.
So The Walking Dead tweeted, y'all need to read the comic books. Chandler Riggs tweeted back and said, that's what I told Scott Gimple.
I love that.
Oh, man. He's going to need some cream for that burn.
Here's the thing, though. Do you think at some point someone's got to tell him, like, bro, you might be hurting yourself for future opportunities?
Yeah, but he's young.
Well, he's young, but I mean, the acting community is small, so you start talking bad about your former employer because you got killed.
Right. Right.
Who else? Wasn't there someone else who was really, really doing that when they got killed off of this series? I can't remember.
Everybody that got killed off before season 4.
Who's really sticking in my head is Laurie Holden.
Yeah, Laurie and Andrea both were really butthurt about their characters dying, but Laurie's coming back to direct.
Laurie Holden is the person who played Andrea.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
You're thinking of Sarah Wayne Callies.
Yes. She's coming back to direct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but both of them were really upset about their characters' deaths, so...
Yeah, it just really sticks in my head that Laurie Holden in particular was really bitter.
Yeah. Yeah, she wouldn't do... I think I remember she wouldn't do cons for like 2 years afterwards. A year or two afterwards. Yeah.
Silly kids.
Well, I guess it's time to head into our good, bad, and ugly.
I think Brian should go first.
Okay, I guess. So...
Was there anything good in this episode?
Yes. So my good was that the Whisperers, and you had just talked about it, they were operating on fear alone, that they weren't even there, that they migrated away. And that, to me, I was just like, oh my God. She had them so terrified. And she told them we were leaving. Because our people tend to drift from place to place through all of our stuff. We're animals. So she's literally telling them, we ain't even going to be here. We're out of here. Because if you think about it, they don't have shelter. So there's no way that they could survive like that. They're migratory. And they were so terrified going through there. And then it seems so silly going on the rewatch going through there. Because when it cut away, Marn, you said it, I'm just like, what the hell? Did we just do another time jump? Did we seriously just skip winter again? We literally just showed a blizzard and now you skipped the whole damn thing. Like, what the hell? So then it clicked. I'm like, they're not even there. Oh my God, they're not even there.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was all in our characters' heads.
It was really pretty bizarre.
Total psychological torture.
Yeah, that's a really great thing and fascinating thing about this episode is that our characters were completely convinced that they were going to be caught out by the Whisperers at any moment.
Well, and in the blizzard, you couldn't tell what was a Whisperer and what was a Walker. Their vision was so clouded that, the things in the distance, you have to get up and close to a Whisper to tell that it's a Whisper anyway. Mm-hmm. But, to not really be able to see, just to have this outline of them standing there. And I do think that at some point, I think it was Michonne or Daryl kind of realized that they would freeze to death out here. They can't be here, So I think that's one of the things that kind of, when they went through at that point they were just terrified of the storm and the walkers. I think that at some point they realized that the Whisperers weren't there, but it was very late into it. It was like, after them fighting dozens of zombies that were coming out of the snow and killing the ones that were frozen still.
I will hold more comments until next thing.
I think I've got some comments about the zombies too. I think we may have some similar comments. Marn, what was your good?
Wandering in a winter walker land. How long have we been saying we want to do frozen zombies? You know, we're the real Alaskan housewives. What would happen in the zombie apocalypse? Would zombies freeze to death, freeze solid? And if they do, when they thawed out, would they reanimate? Who knows? Now we get to find out. And I loved the imagery of, the zombies coming up out of the snow. Because that's what we've talked about before is like, you can't just go trudging through the snow. I mean, it's basically a minefield, and then, to have, I just love wintertime and zombies. I love that they finally made this jump. And I realize it's a very difficult thing to do, watching all of the practical effects and everything that they did. It's not something that they can keep up. So I don't think we're going to be in winter long. There was another article that I read that they were talking about, they had built the set that they went through, and that was, inside of a big studio, but they did do some outdoor scenes, and because the snow was paper and soap, anytime it rained, they had to completely redress the set.
Oh, wow.
So this isn't something that they can keep up. So I think winter is going to come and go fairly quickly. But I'm so happy we finally got it, even if it wasn't in Alaska.
Well, I think I might tread on Brian's toes a little bit, so I'm going to hold some of my comments about winter so I don't tread on his toes. So my good was Carol saving another child.
How could she not?
I thought, I don't know what I thought, but that moment where she is looking at Lydia with tears in her eyes, refusing to kill Lydia, I just thought, here we go again. Carol is saving another child.
So what I thought of was she had mentioned, I think it was to Daryl, that every time she looks at Lydia, she sees Henry. Mm-hmm. And so in the beginning, that was a bad thing. But now every time she looks at Lydia, she thinks of Henry, and that's a good thing. So, yeah. And if anyone can rehabilitate Lydia, it's going to be Daryl and Carol.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And that's when we're watching it, and she said that exact line. Exactly the same thing went through my head. She's totally going to stand up and be the older daughter she never had, right? I think a part of me sees
Sophia grown up.
So, yeah, you betcha. And she sees Henry and she sees Sophia growing up because, it's just that component to it. And I assumed that turn was going to happen. And then you see it play out later in the episode where she does make her choice.
She would be about the right age for Sophia too.
Yep.
Yeah, you'd think so. About 10. I mean, what's Lydia? Probably 16, 17. Yeah. Sophia was probably 6 or 7. So about 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So you'd probably be right about there.
Yeah.
I do think that when she was looking at Lydia early on, she was seeing, how dare you throw yourself away when I sacrificed my son for you?
Yes. I got that vibe too.
More to come later.
All right. Well, head us into the bads, Bri. What's your bad?
Okay. So my bad was that they actually didn't go to the cold to shoot the close-up cold scenes, even just the close-up cold scenes, right? Why didn't you go into a freezer? You built a set in a warm, there's freezers, right? I mean, everyone has like cold storage food companies where there's these giant 80,000 square foot freezers, right?
Well, any place that does shipping of large perishable food,
Right. So how could you not at least go in there to get a little bit of breath, right?
They
or
CGI'd all of it in, right?
Yeah.
Or even CGI'd in, because one of my notes was that when Negan gets hit with the wood, it was CGI wood that was flying. I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? So you couldn't do breath. So as I was watching it through, they're like, how do we know? Which ones are they? And this is when we didn't know they were gone. I'm like, you would just look at their mouth.
Yep.
Because the walkers wouldn't be giving off heat. The actual whisperers would breathe and you would see their breath. So I'm thinking like, oh, this is going to be awesome. They're going to like get jumped and they're going to be like, it's the breath. And then boom, boom, boom. They'd start shooting like the actual whisperers. And I'm like, oh man, this is totally this is going to be dope. Right. So like I'm hyping myself up. Never happened. So that was my bad. It's just that it's not, you spent all this money making fake snow. You could have just gone to the cold and done it. Other shows go offset to go shoot some scenes, at least the close-ups when Carol and Lydia are face-to-face by themselves in a blizzard and they're standing there like they're not even cold.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
With no breath. That took me out of the moment that it's snow. And I'm sorry, I'm with the Alaskans here. That is not a blizzard. If you are standing there and it's literally inch and a half of snow, that is not a blizzard.
Amen,
we had a blizzard.
Brother.
We had a blizzard this winter, and it was 40 below for 2 weeks and 2 feet of snow. So I know 2 feet isn't bad to you guys, but 40 below is, and you can't stand outside in 40 below like that. So
Nope.
It just doesn't work. It didn't work.
You can't have exposed skin.
Yeah, right. It's 10 minutes and you're frostburn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
yeah, and their weather just didn't look all that bad.
yeah, so that it just took me out of the moment of it being winter and snow.
I get that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my bad.
Yep.
Marn, what was yours?
So I think I might be kind of into your bads, Di. I really don't like being right sometimes.
Oh.
And I didn't like being right about Carol and Ezekiel breaking up.
You did totally call it.
I did. I mean, one of our listeners, Victoria Morris, actually also made the point that very few couples ever survive the death of a child. And especially, I don't blame Ezekiel. Let's be clear about that. I don't actually blame Ezekiel, but he was the last person with Henry. And now he's blaming Daryl because he can't blame Carol. And I'm just like, all of it just makes me so sad. I don't know. I'm one of those people that when something horrible or tragic happens, like, you cling to the ones you love. Like, so this whole not talking to each other, not looking at each other, it breaks my heart.
As I would say, more to come.
More to come.
So, Di, did I take your bad?
No, I actually had a couple of bads, and it was not the Ezekiel Carroll thing. So I thought there were a couple of really hokey moments in the episode that took me out of it. One was when Daryl killed the walker by stabbing the icicle through its eye socket.
Yeah.
Totally predictable, totally stupid.
Yep.
The other, really honestly, was the snow fight. I just felt like it was really tone deaf, and it was not in keeping with the really depressed demeanor that everyone has had throughout this whole episode. All of a sudden they're going to break out in a snow fight? Really? It just didn't feel right to me.
So I felt they did that for the kids.
Yeah.
Like, trying to shield the children from reality.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's kind of where I thought they were going with that of, oh, the kids are looking at us, let's pretend we all love each other and we're happy. Yay, look at us. Eee.
I also think that they wanted to end on a positive note. Of course, that's not where the episode ended. It ended with Ezekiel and Judith talking to each other and then the voice in the radio. But the whole, everyone was so depressed and the storm was terrible and Lydia wanted to kill herself and Carol and Ezekiel are breaking up. And then it's like, let's end on a lighter note and have a snow fight and then have the hope of somebody on the radio, you know, like.
Doesn't that feel kind of hokey to you?
It did. It felt really out of place for a season finale. Yeah.
So my last bad, and this was my big bad, was they didn't play by the rules with the walkers. Like, you can't have some walkers freeze solid and other walkers be totally mobile and facile. You just can't do it.
Okay, so here's my explanation for suspension of disbelief of that one. You ready?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the walkers that we saw that were frozen were mainly kind of naked, super desiccated, skinny walkers. And the walkers that were coming up out of the snow were kind of fresher.
Okay, someone else brought that up. Someone said that to me.
What size walkers?
What do our huskies do in the wintertime?
Oh,
they curl up and they have a den of snow. And so it kind of insulates them. So that is my explanation for suspension of disbelief of frozen and not frozen walkers.
Okay, so Phil seconds your thoughts. That was his his thought about the walkers too, is the older the walker, the less meat on their bones, the more quickly they freeze.
Yep, and if you go back and watch, that's exactly how it played out. Because my first run through, actually, when I saw the trailer for this episode, I was like, "Wait, they have mobile walkers and frozen walkers."
Okay, that makes me feel a little better about the walkers because I was really frustrated that they weren't being consistent.
I just gave up trying to reason with any of it because if any walker's still standing and hasn't fully decomped after 6 months, I'm stunned.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. There is a big suspension of disbelief required for, about the last 10 years of the series.
Yeah, so I just kind of gave up and just been like, meh, it's a walker, whatever.
I did have to say, after griping about the walkers, and this is kind of getting into rotting potpourri, I really did like the walker that Lydia was trying to get to bite her arm, because I could just see it kind of getting stuck in that groove of snapping over and over again, and just kind of being all about that groove.
Mm-hmm.
That made sense to me.
More to come later.
All right, we got everybody's bads, right?
Yep.
All right, Brian, tell us you're ugly.
There was nothing violent.
Ah!
I mean, at the end of the day, you end with the previous episode being arguably one of the most violent in the series, right? To then lead into zero violence at all.
Mm-hmm.
You killed some frozen walkers, but outside of that, I mean, there was no suspenseful moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, that was my ugly, man. I mean, that was it. No cliffhangers, no, just, oh my gosh. I mean, you got your minor cliffhangers, but it's nothing that I'm going to think about through summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nobody was left in peril. Nobody was mortally wounded. Yeah.
It didn't really feel like anybody was at risk.
Yeah. This was a good episode, but not a good season finale. Yep.
Marnell, what about your bad?
No,
you're ugly. You're ugly. I'm sorry.
My ugly was the Judith and Negan show again.
So it was good ugly. Too. Okay.
Yes. I just love, he was the only one to drop that rope and run after her in the blizzard. And of course, you know, me, stupid kids, but I would be the one running after the dog also. So I can't really judge. But I just love how he's sort of taken on the fatherly role. I mean, that's exactly what Rick would have done. He would have ran after her. He would have got her and dog. He would have taken his coat off and given it to her and then carried her to safety. I love it. And I love that Michonne has to admit it.
Okay, so points to Phil. He said, what a great way to do Negan's redemption arc. Have him save a puppy and a kid.
And get wounded. Yeah. Yeah, I loved that whole plot line. And I've been loving the Judith and Inigo plot line anyway, so it works for me. I'm there for it.
I'm kind of struggling a little bit with the Negan redemption. Is our group really going to let him be redeemed?
I think so. He needles Father Gabriel, but I think Father Gabriel and Michonne now are going to be like, he served his sentence, even though, he did murder 2 people and he's only served 6 years, but whatever. He served his sentence and he needs to be a productive member for us to keep feeding him.
But we've still got a handful of people who were there and who saw the way that Glenn and Abraham died.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think Rosita is ever going to be on his side.
What do you think, Bri? Do you think they're going to tolerate his redemption?
Yeah, but it's going to have stipulations, right? I think it's going to be more like community service. Like, he gets to go outside, be productive, tend to gardens during the day, but he goes back to the cell to sleep, right? So you get work release, right? You get a little bit this way and that way.
You don't get to participate in our potlucks and our hoedowns.
Yeah, you don't get to do spaghetti. You don't get to do this kind of stuff. But you get the halfway taste of freedom. And then I think what's going to happen is when the gloves come off, when the whispers come and knock in, then that's when they give the final bit of trust to him. And then
they're going to be forced to.
He's going to help save them, only to kill them all in the end.
Oh. Well, I do think they're priming him for an arc with the Whisperers. I do think that they're going to stick somewhat along the lines of the source material with that. I'm not sure how things are going to finish out with Negan.
Yeah. Anyone could die at any time, and they are so off the source material that they don't have to stick to it. I kind of hope that Lydia takes the role that he winds up happening in the books.
Well, I just hope that he meets Alpha and he's like, who in the F and if this and you done lost your mind? Who in the hell do you he just goes off on a tirade, right? Doing the Negan, and he just Negans all over Alpha. And then it's like game over and all hell breaks loose.
That would be a great moment.
How would she react? Because she's so placid when it comes to violence and confrontation and things like that. Like, I just can't imagine those two confronting each other. I can imagine it on his end, but not hers.
That's actually a really great visual. I mean, she's so deadpan and he's so over the top.
Yeah.
So here's something fun to think about. Because I could see Negan mouthing off to him like, I will bash your head in, going off. And then we're going to find Lucille somewhere. Like, I don't think it's the last time we've ever seen her because she was out on the street, but somebody to have
picked her up. Yep.
Right. And someone is going to like throw it to him. But in thinking what's going to be his heroic moment, then that is his link to the past. And it does more harm than good.
Dun, dun, dun. If anyone could get past her stoicism, it would be him. He could, for lack of a better term, get under her skin. But he has a way of knowing exactly what buttons to push on any one person at any given time. So it'll be interesting.
And he's going to come face to face with the biggest nut job that has ever been there.
Beta.
So, it's going to be fun to see kind of just what would happen and how it's going to go down.
I definitely think that's the direction that they're heading us in. Which I'm okay with that. I don't know that I'm okay with Negan being totally redeemed, but I'm okay with the intersection of him and the Whisperers.
I'm on board either way. I'm in this till the bloody end.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, Di, what was your ugly?
Well, you talked about it, but it was really Ezekiel and Carol. And for me, that was just the heartbreaking thing that really redeemed this whole episode for me. It really made the episode have some emotion and some heart for me. There were just a couple of moments that I wrote down. So when you watch at the very beginning and they're shutting the doors to the kingdom, Carol just turns and walks away from Ezekiel without saying anything once the doors are closed.
Yeah.
When they leave the kingdom, she's walking with Daryl and he's up on a horse and riding with Jerry. Mm-hmm. When they're talking about whether or not they should cross into the Whisperer's territory, just the way that the two of them kind of sniped at each other about the boundaries, it was just heartbreaking.
I agree. I'm kind of mad at Ezekiel for being mad at Daryl, like I said before. But I always think it's super interesting when Ezekiel lets his king mask slip. And when he was talking to Daryl, he dropped the cadence of his tone, you know, like the way he talks as the king.
Come on, man.
Yeah, he totally kind of inhabited that skin for a minute.
Yep, he dropped the act, you know, and it's not often we see him do that. So
I've got it written down. I just want to get it back a piece of what I lost.
Yeah.
Are we in full-blown rotten potpourri? Did I miss the transition?
No, we're heading into rotting potpourri.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So
we crossed that border, Brian.
Yeah, when he was starting to talk to Daryl, I'm just like, are you freaking kidding? Because he's like, no, I'll go do it. I'm like, oh, God, he's going to buck up on Daryl, and Daryl just going to, like, punk him out.
Nope.
So then he started doing that, and I'm just like, oh, my God, he's totally going to blame Daryl for, like, moving in, which I was kind of talking to the TV and like, come on, Daryl, like either punk him out, like who in the hell do you think you're talking to? You don't get to, I'm not one of your disciples. You don't get to run your mouth to me. Or do you have any idea what I've been through since day one with her?
Yeah.
Through her ex-husband, through this, through that.
Sophia.
Sophia, and just going down the line.
Yep.
And like, you need to know your place in her life, not mine. So I was kind of hoping for one of those two reactions, but instead he just walked off.
Yeah, he didn't even give him the dignity of the response.
No, he said something. I loved what he said. He's like, is that what you think Carol would want?
Oh, that's right.
I loved it because I have said that. My other half was saying, he was talking about that. And I was like, no, he's going to do what Carol wants. He doesn't, he's not going to do what the king wants. He's going to do whatever is good for Carol.
Yeah. I was hoping for something cooler.
Yeah. Little machismo.
Well, kind of going back to the beginning of Rotting Potpourri and going back to Ezekiel, I really loved where he was talking about the kingdom finally being broke and we can't fix it. And then he says things fall apart, which I don't know if either of you has ever read that book, but it's a really phenomenal book by an African author his name is Chinua Achebe. And I'm wondering if he was making a reference to that book.
Huh. That's interesting.
I don't read, so.
I read it a long time ago in an African literature class and loved it, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, so just I loved the breakup the second watch through, because to your point, his intro made so much more sense as he was going through. I'm like,
yep.
Is what he's saying really at the end of the episode when he's talking to Judith? Because you can almost piece them together like it's the same conversation.
Oh, wow.
It bookends, yeah.
He's just opening up, he's got the opportunity and he's just checking in with his psychiatrist, Judith.
Who is wise beyond her years.
I was going to say, it's so funny how everyone talks to her like she's a full-blown adult.
She kind of is a little adult.
Kinda.
Well, she doesn't, and so it kind of goes back to, the killing kids. You get to mold them, so they don't get to watch cartoons. They don't know what Barney is. They don't know what coloring books are. They only know real life. So when I look at comparisons of how would children actually be, you got to kind of like rewind to colonial times and say, kids were out here as farm hands running plows when they're 6, right?
Yeah,
so
we were sending boys to war at 14.
Yeah, you were talking about that in a previous episode, Marn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of that, and it just, when he's going through that and talking about the rot and all of this, and it just exacerbated their problems that they had and the little indifferences, and it kind of just proved that they weren't really together out of love. They were really together out of lust and opportunity at that point. Carol was...
Oh, that just breaks my heart.
But if you think about how they came together, right? Carol
she said she didn't regret the fairy tale, though.
Which was a nice little hat tip to, thanks for the fairy tale and that kind of stuff. But
now I have to get back to my real life.
Yeah. So it was kind of just like, she did it. She got swept up in it all. And then when all the cards were on the table, she had nothing left to be there for. So she just seen it as an opportunity to go away. Yeah. And I thought that it carried more weight the second time through, because the first time through I was like, oh, she gave the ring back, she's done, okay, whatever. But then going back and doing it all again, you really kind of felt the gravity of the situation, and I actually got pulled in deeper to it because of that, and I understood what she was doing. And I think the trio now of Lydia and Carol and Daryl are going to extend beyond reading that multiple, we could have, extra crossovers. I can totally see that being those 3 now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And dog.
And dog.
So you can totally go back and watch the very beginning when he's talking on the radio, and then just fast forward to the end, and it is a seamless conversation. Yeah, I agree with that. And I caught it on the rewatch. It didn't occur to me on the first watch too.
I totally missed that, and that's a really nice insight.
So I thought it was super interesting when he was talking at first, and he said things break down, fires rage, and the rot sets in. They showed everyone the pipes bursting and everyone trying to save the pipes, and who was always going to save the pipes? It was Henry. And what was he doing when he walked away from Lydia? He thought the pipe had burst. He was going to go fix it. So I just thought, it was just a moment where I was like, oh, it was Henry who always fixed the pipes, and he's not there, and now they're broken. So
kids.
And I felt like the kingdom was a character and was a story that ended.
Yeah.
In this episode.
Did they pack up the movie projector?
Yeah, because they went through a lot to get that dang bulb.
I did like, and I wrote this down, the scene where Carol is looking through Henry's bedroom and looks at the birthday cards and finds the little Shiva pin, and I thought that was a really nice touch.
Did you catch on The Walking Dead what they said about that?
That the pin didn't have a backing on it?
Oh, no. I think it was in the little quiz thing, the rapid quiz they do right before a commercial.
That Nicotero did that as a surprise, that they didn't rehearse it like that?
Yeah, she asked to not see them until they were shooting so that she could have a real emotion. So I thought that was cool on her part.
Mm-hmm. All right, next.
Father, not the father, Gabriel. And the quadrangle. Is that what I remember it as? The quadrangle?
Yes.
Something like that. It was just, I was very confused at why Negan was pushing the buttons on them at that moment.
Angela Kang.
He's had nothing to do for 6 years
Right.
but push people's buttons.
And Angela Kang talked about it. She said, he's always going to have an edge. He's always going to be that person who needs to needle other people.
Right, but right then and there, it just
Captive audience.
It was just weird that he wasn't in it for the long putt and just saying, I appreciate it, thank you, and just playing it cool, right? They're letting you out on the leash to save your life. As much as you want to take those jabs, just play it cool, man.
I think that's his character flaw, though. He can't.
He can't.
There's like that little thing that he just can't let go.
Only with kids.
Yeah.
Only with kids.
It's kind of one of those things that actually makes Negan appealing, at least to me.
Well, and it was funny, too, because Judith was the only one that could get him under control.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, why don't you just be quiet? And then he'd say something. She'd go, language. And he'd be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Carl, too. The only people he ever really leveled with was Carl and Judith.
Yep.
Because he upset Carl by making fun of his eye. And then he, got real and seriously apologized. And he's never done that to an adult. So I think they're going to have a new daycare run by Negan and Alexandria.
I think that's a good insight, Marnell, because I think even with Michonne at the end of the episode, it still felt like he was working an angle.
Oh, yeah. It was one of those, I want Negan to be, I want the Negan and Judith show. I want Negan to be let out. I want to see more of him. But right under the surface, I'm just like, he's going to do something bad. Yeah, I can totally feel it.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't feel like he's working an angle with the kids. I agree. That's the only time he feels like he's been completely genuine.
Yeah. And that was, he genuinely saved Judith. He was genuinely concerned about Judith and ran after her and risked his life and everything. But man, he is going to hold that over Michonne.
Okay, and what was that, since we're on that topic anyway? Number one, these damn fools can't zip a coat.
Oh my!
Half of these people didn't have their coats zipped.
I cut my bad short.
And the other thing is why was it only Negan who ran after Judith?
Right.
Everyone's like, nah, ain't my kid.
Right. You and the dog, you're on your own.
On my rewatch, you can hear Rosita yell, "Don't let go of the rope." So she ordered everyone not to do it. I'm like, oh, are you going to say that when it's your kid running off in a blizzard?
You would think there would be some fear of Michonne and some fear of losing Judith.
Yeah, because what you do is you just turn the whole chain gang around and go after Judith, right?
Well, it's Alexandria, right? It's all fenced in. She can't run that far.
Right.
So it's not like you need 22 people out looking for her.
True. And it's not like a walker's going to get her inside the walls.
But
unless somebody had, died and then reanimated.
They all let it just be Negan? Really? I don't know. Smart enough to survive a zombie apocalypse, not smart enough to wear gloves and zip up a coat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Daryl in his fingerless gloves.
Well, Negan didn't have any gloves at all.
Fingers. What's up?
Negan didn't have any gloves at all.
That's right. Ugh. Yeah. Right there with you, sister.
Yeah. How after 10 or let's just say 6 years, how were they this unprepared for winter? How did nobody sweep chimneys? That just irritated the crap out of me. Eugene is way too smart.
Yes. He's got a protocol for everything, and there was no chimney maintenance. I mean, that's really they had some electric heaters, but I'm thinking that everyone had a fire in their house at some point, like a fire going in their house and in their fireplace. And, it does need maintenance. A lot of people don't think about that, but wood burning fireplaces do. And what's funny is I actually, when they said the smell, and I actually understood it a split second after Eugene, and that split second would have that's what it would have taken for the people near the fireplace to die. He got there just before, and it's funny because growing up in Alaska, we had wood burning stoves, and creosote is a problem. So I thought that was funny that it just dawned on him so quickly.
Well, and I think it's a really good point that they've had how many winters in the zombie apocalypse to prepare for this, and now it's a problem.
Yeah. They did make mention that it's never hit this early, this hard, but you've still had winters, you know?
I know.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you think the whole Gabriel, Rosita, what's his face, is going to pan out? Yeah, I thought one of them was going to die.
Oh, yeah, I totally thought one of them was going to be on a pike.
This problem will solve itself, right?
Yep.
You know?
Well, and Sadiq almost died. You know, he was taken and he was tied to a tree. So, but yeah, I don't like it.
So
I kind of want it to be done.
I think it was in an interview where she was talking about season 10, but it really sounds like Angela Kang is intending for Rosita to stick around and have this kid.
Oh, I'm for that, but I'm done with the whole two fathers story, my two dads storyline, you know? I kind of either want Gabriel to raise it or Sadiq to raise it, and yeah, you know, it takes a village, you know. It can be Uncle Sadiq.
I don't think it's going to be that neat. I don't think it's going to be that tidy.
I don't want it to focus on it anymore, you know? I don't next.
Well, hold on now. Hold on now. So to play off of the hidden moles from last conversation, there is a possibility, a scenario that I have played out, where Father Gabriel is the one who gives the secret access points to the Whisperers. And it's not because of his creepy eye.
It's the hat.
Yeah, right. It's when baby's born, emotions, love is running high. It's mom and dad and Gabriel, and he walks in them at a very inopportune time where Sadiq is kissing her.
Ooh.
And Gabriel just says, all right, I'm done. Walks out and says, they've wronged me, kill me, I'm done with life at this point. I've done far worse. Here's how you get them. Here's how you get in. I'm out.
I could sign on for that. Yeah.
I have many.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have many sabotage plans for this show.
It would be a big betrayal because when I look at Rosita and I look at the way she looks at Sadiq and Gabriel, she obviously loves Gabriel. Sadiq was obviously just a fling.
But does she, though? But is it real love or is it out of necessity?
Well, I forget who made the point. I want to give credit to Victoria Morris. She said this is the first relationship that Rosita has had where she hasn't had something to gain, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's bound to end in misery.
It is The Walking Dead after all.
One of them must die.
Okay, I got to gripe a little bit more. So I wanted a little more backstory about how the evacuation of the kingdom came together. Because it just didn't make any sense to me why they had people coming from Hilltop and why they had people coming from Alexandria. And, you know, it just seemed like they didn't need to pull in people from two communities. They could have just had Hilltop people come and do it. I just wanted more backstory. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess so. For me, the way I kind of see it was, you know, he had given the evacuation order, right? The kingdom has fallen. You know, everything's done. Everything he's worked for, the trade fair, all of the stuff was a failure. Everything he did at that moment had come to an end because they did the fair to open up trade routes again to get all this neat stuff. And in reality, it was just knickknacks and crafts that it was like a flea market, that nothing was really to gain out of it. So the fair was really, in the end, false hope. It gave people, but it didn't allow it to be saved. So when I kind of thought through it, he really hit the evacuation button because they have trade routes going now. So communication was generally open and you could get somewhere in 2 days or so. So, hey, this stuff's not working. We have to leave. So that's where I kind of seen everyone coming with their wagons to help. Like when your friend's getting ready to move, everyone comes over with their trucks to help them move, right?
I just I don't know. I just wasn't satisfied with the way that they did it,
Yeah, that didn't dawn on me until they went from Sanctuary to Hilltop. I was like, wait a minute, what was everyone doing in Kingdom? Like, why are we all together? Why wasn't anybody at Hilltop? Yeah. I'm very upset that they left the horses behind in Sanctuary to, like, I don't know, die inside that building. Starve to death, freeze to death.
God, I didn't even think about that.
Yep. I'm very upset at them for leaving horses behind.
Why?
Right?
Did they say why?
They were crossing the river.
So?
They weren't certain that they could get across, let alone the horses, so they left the horses and the wagons behind.
It's a blizzard. The ice is more than a foot thick. You can drive a tractor on it. Come on.
Yep. And the river wasn't that wide. So as long as you took one horse. Yeah. As long as you took like one horse at a time and even maybe at different, areas, I think you would have been fine. I don't think
it's not like it was the Grand Canyon and it was 28 feet deep and 4 feet across, right?
Yeah.
God, I totally flushed that out of my head. I didn't realize they didn't account for the horses at all.
Yeah, because when they were like, well, we could leave the horses and the wagons behind. I'm like, are you leaving somebody behind to take care of the horses until the weather clears?
Okay, and did anyone else see Daryl like stick his foot out a foot onto the ice and go, "Oh yeah, it's fine," and be
right.
Really? Yeah. Are you sure you don't want to test that a little farther out from the shore?
You do understand that is moving water. That's not a pond. Yeah. That's funny.
Damn kids.
So why don't we just stick Lydia into Oceanside and call it good?
That's a good thought.
She's out of Carol's hair. She's out of Daryl's hair. Nobody has to see her again. And she's with a whole bunch of group of, women who had all their fathers and brothers and sons murdered. And she'd fit right in.
But Daryl seems fairly attached. I mean, he was really taking care of her. He defended her against Alden. At the very beginning, he was like, here, you need to sit down and eat before we get on the road. When they got to Hilltop, he was like, you need to get some rest before we go to Alexandria. I mean, he's totally caretaking her.
There has been a ton of articles online about how Daryl sees himself in Lydia because he was abused when he was younger by a family member.
Also, I think he sees Beth again.
Oh,
aww.
Interesting.
Because remember the time they spent together out on the road and all of that. And in the end, he was the one carrying out her body, sobbing and bawling. And I think that's why he keeps her under his wing a little tighter so it doesn't happen. Because if you remember, when Daryl said, wait here, I'm going to scout up ahead. And then that hearse came by and scooped her up and took her back to the hospital while he was scouting ahead. So I think that's why he keeps Lydia on his hip.
So when Lydia dies, he's going to be heartbroken.
I don't think she's going to die.
No.
No, I don't think it's going to go down like that.
I wonder if she'll get Carl's story.
It's possible.
It's been talked about.
Yeah, I guess the one real good thing for me that I really I instantly caught on to was where she was going to let the walker bite her. Mm-hmm. And that was part of the comics where I did read where Carol just gave herself at the prison.
Yeah.
Where she just, she fell in love with the walker and just wanted somebody to listen to her or whatever the dialogue with the walker on the leash was. And she just gave herself. And as she was doing that, that's instantly what I thought in my head. And then Carol to be standing there I'm thinking like, oh, I wonder if she's going to say something. No, she wouldn't say nothing because that's the comic book one. I'm like having these conversations in my head. So I thought that was kind of a cool like hat tip to comic book Carol and then TV Carol, finding her in that kind of situation where I just want it to be over. And that was kind of the exact character from the comics. So that was kind of neat.
Good on you for catching that callback. I didn't. I had to have Angela Kang say it.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty instant for me. But yeah, I think the Lydia going to Oceanside, who we didn't see in this episode.
No, not at all.
Oceanside they're like, no, we ain't helping you move. You move your damn self.
We're staying where it's warm.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool. But that's neat though. I mean, if she does go to Oceanside, she does get a restart. She does get a whole kind of refresh. And will the Oceanside come to help fight off the Whisperers? Are they going to bail them out of another confrontation, right? Are they going to get involved?
I think they can't introduce Oceanside back at the fair and then have no follow-up with that.
Yeah. So Rachel said that she had soldiers that she could spare in defense of the other communities. When they were all talking about how Hilltop is going to pay the price, or was it Hilltop or Kingdom? They was going to pay the price. Yeah. So I can see Oceanside coming back in, and I agree that it would be weird to have, Oceanside pop up at the fair and then we just don't hear from them again. Like it's happened before.
I think they're going to come back. I think they're going to pull them back into the Whisperers story and the big final blowout.
So they did say that I think it was on Talking Dead, or maybe I read it in an article, that the reason why they used Rachel instead of Cindy as the ambassador at the fair is because the actress Cindy had a prior commitment, and not because she was off the show or anything or didn't want to be there. So I'm kind of hoping for the return of Cindy.
Ah, very good.
Yeah. But I really like Rachel, because she was that psycho little kid that was just going to stab Tara.
So the other part was Daryl asking, didn't he offer to take Lydia away from here?
He did. Yeah, he said he could take her off on his own and just take care of her.
Yep. And that's what Carol asked him, do you want to go? And he's like, not really. And Lydia was listening.
Nah, bitch crazy. No.
That was a new page for Daryl to really want to stay with the community and stay in community.
It is.
I think he just wants to stay with Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think after all of this, that's his security blanket, not in a romantic way.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, if you harken back to the farm, right? He was living in making that ear necklace way out on the little outhouse, and she would always kind of come out there and check on him and all that kind of stuff. And even back at the prison, right? She would always check on him. She was always the one checking on Daryl. And the one thing I liked is I can't remember the line, maybe you guys got it, but it was about, I'm stopping so I don't become my old self or something like that.
I feel like I'm losing myself again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, come on, do it, because you were way cooler when you were slashing people and threatening to tie up kids out in the forest.
Did you catch, by the way, that they were sitting on the stairs talking to each other in Sanctuary like they were at the beginning of the beginning of the season when they were talking about leadership at the Sanctuary, and Daryl was trying to bow out of leading the Saviors?
Oh,
I didn't catch that. I just want the return of badass Carol so that she'll cut her hair.
There's a lot of conversation around Carol cutting her hair.
Oh, she looks so much better with short hair. Because, there is no conditioner in the zombie apocalypse.
I bet it will be so much easier for the actress. I'm sure they'll write that in.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe she will. I guess if I had just a few more things is, why didn't they consult Lydia more?
About the Vespers, you mean?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Your mom put their heads on a spike. Clearly you're with us now. How many are there of you exactly? How would she have been able to infiltrate this and take these people away from us? Is she going to stick around in the winter? How do you guys survive in the winter?
That makes
we
sense.
don't. We actually move
point.
south, right? Like, or why is she not telling them this? So that's kind of the other brake pump of maybe this has been the rule all along.
Lydia's going to be the one to let them in.
Maybe Lydia has just been slow playing this putt, because if you remember, she always says, my mom tells me places like this don't stand for long, and it always fails.
It did.
It did. She told him. And it's because of her.
I don't think Lydia's a spy.
Never know.
Never know, but I don't think so. I'm holding out no.
She is a super traumatized child, and her
why would you not tell anybody? Right?
No. Like, and that's what I'm saying is that's how I can think that she would go back to her abuser is what it amounts to. I mean, how many times does a battered spouse leave before they actually leave finally? I think that like the statistic is like 7 times or something. And so I could totally see Lydia going back to her abuser. Yep.
I'm still holding out. I'm holding out for Lydia.
Well, I think that the tutelage of Carol and Daryl are going to be good influences for her. I think she could go in another direction. She'll be the kid that wraps all of the storylines into one. Maybe she will take over Carl's storyline. Maybe she'll forge a new one as kind of an Alicia type character, from Fear the Walking Dead. I have to say that I've said, and I think I might have said this in the previous episode. I didn't like Enid when we first got her, and she grew on me. So I'm kind of giving Lydia a little bit of leeway, because I think I just have this thing where I don't like teenagers. But when they grow up, I'm okay with them. So she just needs a few years to grow up, and I'll be fine.
That's really funny. I like teenagers. You can send your teenagers to me.
Get in the van. I have candy.
Stay away from me until you're at least 26.
So this is another little thing, but I liked the moment where Michonne and Ezekiel are talking back at the sanctuary, and Michonne says that she realizes that because she kept the community so isolated, that's why Alpha was able to walk among them. Yes.
And because of the charter, these are no longer your people. They're our people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then they left the horses behind.
I can't believe that.
I can't believe you missed that.
Oh my God. I was so focused on dog.
That's funny.
I just want to say also that I couldn't hear half of the witty dialogue between Negan and Judith because of the blizzard.
Oh, yeah. Because he did tell her language.
It's like, why even have them talk?
Because she told him how his leg looked, and he's like, language!
Ah, see, I totally missed that.
Yeah, I thought it was cute because she had done it to him earlier, so it's their cute little thing.
Mm-hmm. I even had the sound bar on, and I couldn't tell what they were saying to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's about all I got, though.
Yeah, I think... What else?
Victoria wrote us a novel, if we want to go into listener feedback.
Oh, no! Wait! Before we go to listener feedback, you guys! The voice on the radio!
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of a small thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was predictable. Like, once he stood up and walked away, and then it's like, are we doing this now? Hello? So, I'm just going to say it's the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I think it's the Commonwealth. Yeah. There are people who are speculating that it's Maggie or that it's Rick, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I think it's the Commonwealth because they gotta bring that back into the fold to end this series this next season.
And if it were Rick, people would so be on that. Everyone would be vacating to find Rick.
Yes. Like the mission for the next 2 seasons would be, where's Rick?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, it's totally got to be the Commonwealth or a Commonwealth-like place, which I kind of think that we've seen with Georgie and the twins. I don't know. Maybe.
Although
is Maggie in the Commonwealth?
They're saying that Maggie is with Georgie. So,
but is Georgie and the twins' home base the Commonwealth, or is it someplace else where the Commonwealth brings people to kind of test the waters, and then they're like, okay, they can go to the big place now? You know?
I don't know.
We could weed out the Negans and the Father Gabriels and,
the A's and the B's.
A's and B's. That's funny. So the radio that they were using is a Panasonic RF 2200 8-band portable shortwave AM/FM radio. You can buy one on Amazon. I'm sorry, not Amazon, eBay for $350.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Depending on atmospheric conditions, you can reach Japan with their radios. So we've talked about it before about how
what if it's fear?
The radios don't go that long. Well, if you have a good antenna and the atmospheric conditions are right, you can reach really, really far. So who knows where this voice is coming from?
What if it's Alicia?
That would be wicked cool.
What if it's Madison? We never saw her body.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What if it is? What if it is fear? And this is how
Madison 6 years later.
Well, the end of Fear the Walking Dead at the end of this summer is Alicia on the radio saying, "Hello, is that you? Can you hear me?"
That would be really cool.
We should just start writing our own fan fiction.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, before we get into listener feedback and before we let Brian go, because I know it's getting late there, I just want to say that Beta whipping Alpha was just over the top and too much for me.
Yeah. I felt it was unnecessary for the characters. I already think they're creepy and sadistic and masochistic. And, yeah.
Well, I think it's her proving herself to Beta that she's still got it together.
Yeah. And
I feel Beta pushes her to say, are you in a way to like, are you still fit to lead? Mm-hmm. That he's making sure she's walking the walk and doing the talk, not just talking. That, no, you're going to walk the walk too. And if you're not, then I'm going to kill you.
Well, and, we've previously talked about, and it was specifically with Negan in his cell going kind of stir crazy, in very severe emotional situations, some people will self-harm in order to deal with what else is going on around them.
Right,
so I could totally
process feelings.
Yes. So I can totally see that being part of that. Because she be cray.
I don't know. It was just over the top for me.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm done torturing you guys with writing potpourri.
So do you want to read Victoria's novel since you were the one that responded to her?
Sure. Let me get into that. All right. So Victoria said finale. Quite a gentle affair, I thought. The good. I like the focus on parenting again. Seems to have been a bit of a theme this season. Lydia, seriously traumatized and damaged by her mother, asking Carol, damaged by the loss of children, to kill her. I would be very interested in seeing a bond develop there, not as mother and daughter, but as Carol being her mentor. Carol's been in a place where she thought herself weak. She's exactly the right person to deprogram Lydia. Also on that theme, Carol and Ezekiel breaking up. It's very rare for couples to survive the loss of a child, and although I'm sad, I'm glad they went for the reality of that. Bad. I didn't feel the sense of danger for the kingdom people. I had no doubt whatsoever that they were all making it there. Ugly. Negan and Judith. Love him going to get her in his conversation with Michonne. It's all credit to JDM that I'm watching that and having so many feels whilst also thinking, is he still up to something? Again with the parenting theme. Negan stepping in to do exactly what Rick would have done if Judith had gone off in the snow on his watch.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, love Jerry. King Top. I'm going to try and make that happen.
Hashtag King Top.
And then I said, I'm glad Jerry avoided the Pikes. And she said, yes, for that comment alone, but also because I just love him and his wife. They're adorable together. And I said, and are apparently repopulating the earth single-handedly.
Right?
And then she said, haha, long may they continue to get jiggy in the apocalypse. And I said, well, somebody has to because Ezekiel isn't getting any these days.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I like I said, I like the confrontation between him and Michonne. And I specifically liked the line where he said, no one thinks they're the evil one.
Mm-hmm. Because you always say that. You always say the hero is the villain in somebody else's story.
Yeah. Yep. The hero is the villain is the hero of his own piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we had a little bit of feedback on the page. There are a couple of people who said that they would be really interested in hearing us podcast Good Omens. Cindy Patton, who said she's in for anything that casts David Tennant.
Right. And by the way, our featured cast member, the episode of Doctor Who that she was in was a David Tennant episode.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Cat Craft said absolutely. Nikki Campbell Keith said, y'all decide what to cover. I will tune in. Y'all rock. And then Carla May said, so excited for Good Omens.
Well, I think that says it all. I think Di and I are doing another podcast.
I think I think we'll just do Good Omens as part of Biters so people can choose to tune in or not.
Right.
Rather than trying to forge a new
set
podcast
up a whole
on
new
its
page.
Own. Yeah.
Yep. Maybe.
Oh, go ahead.
Maybe a spinoff somewhere at some point.
So Beth was really bummed by the episode. I said, I can't watch tonight. It's too sad. And she said, sad isn't a big letdown. Then you're right.
Man, it was goofy. It was goofy. I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that in the writing room, everybody was good with this. What was on the cutting room floor that we didn't get to see?
Yeah, it had to have been more.
I was going to say, from the pieces that I've cobbled together between the interviews on The Talking Dead and some of the stuff that I've read, a lot got left out. And I'm like, why? Because last episode, we were an hour and a half. We were only an hour this episode. You could have totally shoved more in there.
That was one thing that I went to. I'm like, how long is this going to be? Oh, my God. I'm like, hour 9. Doesn't make any sense.
Same thing.
Yep. I'm like, why did they make the long episode the second to the last one? It made no sense. I'm telling you,
people got their pages switched.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I don't know. Something happened with the storyboards and a delivery man. And I
don't know. Just one more thing from the page, and then I'll let you guys wrap us up for the night. So I said that I was watching the marathon and I wanted to know who people were glad avoided the Pikes. Let's see. Pedro Pelez said Judith. Michelle Brunson Olsen. Hey, Michelle. Said Jerry, Alden, Daryl, and Judith. Thomas O'Mara said Rosita, Aaron, and Gabriel. Colleen Mahoney said, if Jerry dies, we effing riot. Becky Puckett said Carol and Judith, Daryl, Aaron, the King. And then Diane LaSorsa said, agree with all your picks.
Yeah. I like I said, I was very sad to see the Highwaymen and RJ, who was actually
DJ.
Somebody from somebody from Sanctuary that kind of joined the Highwaymen. I was sad to see them go. I wasn't too upset about the teenagers and Negan's ex-wife, kind of ex-wife. Yeah, but there were so many people I was grateful that were saved.
Yeah, I would have to say I was happier about the people who dodged it than getting the reveal about the people who didn't.
Yeah. Yep.
All I want to know is how did they know the order in which to place the heads from least important? That's where Sadiq comes in.
I have to say the pan across, you're right, they built with each head that they showed.
Yeah, it wasn't like Ozzy, Enid, DJ, Frankie, you know? Yeah, it was in the correct order.
It was very not random.
Nope. It was a buildup. So Diane texted me. I think, wasn't it you that texted me the trailer for the movie The Dead Don't Die?
Oh, yeah. I said we might have to podcast this movie.
Have you seen the advertisements for this, Brian?
Yes, I just did. I watched the trailer this morning.
Okay. We need to watch it, the three of us, and we need to podcast it.
Deal.
That would be awesome.
Yay!
So we have a date for The Dead Don't Die sometime this summer.
Yes. Because I said I wanted to podcast zombie movies this summer. And that is a definite zombie movie. And Bill Murray. Hello.
Murray.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when does it come out? Do you guys...
June. It comes out in June.
Boy, we are going to have a busy summer between Good Omens, Fear the Walking Dead, The Dead Don't Die. Preacher's coming back at some point.
Well, thank God my work trip got put off till next spring because I'm putting it into the 2020 fiscal budget, which means next spring. So, yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, that's good because you're going to be anchored to your microphone.
That's funny.
Boom.
I'm so glad you came onto the show, Brian.
I did. Thank you. It was fun. I enjoyed.
Great.
Oh, and to think I was kind of tired and this is a downer episode and work's just been so demanding lately. And I was like, I almost seriously texted Diane and put this off a day. I'm so glad I didn't.
Oh, I would have been like, no, I'm sorry. You can't. I have a commitment tomorrow. We have to do it tonight.
That's funny. And then she's like, I'm having problems with the Skype. I need to hang up. I was like, okay, because that's happened before. We've got a bad connection. And so she called me back and Brian's on the line. I'm like, what the what? It was awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate it. Always good to come back and say hi. Do I get royalties? Because, you guys do still use Rotten Potpourri and take it one dead day at a time. I feel like you owe me tens of thousands of dollars.
It's like a third of zero. Yeah.
Cool.
We're cutting you in on the zero we get, and you get an entire third.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
But we talk about you all the time on the show. You're still part of the family.
Yeah.
So come back anytime.
I will do that indeed.
All right. But until then,
let's take it
one
dead day at a time. Yeah, nothing's changed. It's still terrible.
Oh, but it's good terrible.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
All right, ladies. See ya. Have a good one.
Take care.
Cookie Chef.
Bye.
Bye.
Cookie Chef. Bye.